Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. It's Movie Mayhem, and I'm joined by my co-host today, Chase Morgan Hewlett. Chase, how are you doing today?
I am well. How are you today?
Not too bad. We got a fun one today, folks. It's gonna be Oscar season, as we know. So this podcast will come out right before the Oscars. And so we have no idea who's going to win, but we will give our opinions. But first, Chase has an updated movie collection like he likes to showcase to you all.
Yeah, absolutely. I live kind of close to Walmart, and that's the only store nowadays that actually sells physical media. So anytime I'm grocery shopping, we always take a peek, and if there's something good, I grab it. So I have four, two steelbooks and two regulars. First steelbook is The Godfather. Kind of a cool steelbook. I think they've released these before because on my Amazon wish list there's Godfather Part 2 that has a similar like artwork. So I think these have been released before, but I've never seen them in person. So it's one of my favorite movies, as everyone knows. So I had to grab it. It's funny, I got most of these all in the same day. It was kind of an expensive movie trip, but it's worth it. I love these steelbooks, but this one's really cool. So I got that. And then I think you'll like this one. I got Ben-Hur
Ooh,
steelbook.
very cool, very cool.
That one's cool. Okay, so that has the background, awesome chariot scene, right? And I think if you open it right, you will. I've never actually opened it, but if you open it, I think it's the scene. So that's really cool. Ben-Hur is being released in theaters this year, so they have a big deal about Ben-Hur right now. Also, it's Easter time. They always promote their Easter films, whether it's mostly religious films like The Chosen and stuff like that. So they had this, and that's really cool. It's also one of my favorites. Um, and I know you've seen this before because we did a review on it. But yeah, so there's that Ben-Hur. And then there's also, because I'm a nerd when it comes to this, I have this Ben-Hur 4K Ultra. I did not need this, but that cover is too cool to skip, too cool to pass. So I was like, I have to get it. So um, now I have five or six copies of this movie, but they all have different covers. So it's worth it, right? Especially if it's one of your favorites. And then this one is not really for me, it's for my wife, and she doesn't even know she's got it yet. So I bought her Prince of Egypt because they're promoting Easter, right? And she was talking about how we should just buy this movie because she loves it so much, and it was only $8. So, physical media is something that we should continue to have. So if there's a movie you like, you watch it regularly, you might as well just buy it, right? That way you don't have to rent it off Amazon for $3.99. You buy it once and then you can watch it as many times as you want. So I got her Prince of Egypt. She loves this movie. And it's been a hot minute since I've seen this. So, yeah, and I just got that today. So that is what I bought today. Um, I didn't buy it all today, but that's what I got added to the collection. And Donnie, if you ever add anything to a collection of yours, you should share it. I'm the only one doing it, but I also live in town, so
The only
kind of
collection I
easy
had
for me.
during this episode, Chase, was a renting collection of movies just to rent to get this podcast on the road. That was about all, should have just bought it at that point. But a few of them actually came out today when we're recording for actually the ownership rather than the rent. So it's unfortunate timing, but here nor there. We have this episode. We are ready to go. Honestly, The Prince of Egypt, Chase, that takes me back to my childhood. I don't think I've seen that movie since I was in elementary school, to be honest with you.
It's been a long time for me. I just watched it in Sunday school. It's been a hot minute.
Very much so. Chase, I'm also on the brink of 30 as of this recording. So I'm telling you, I don't know how the 30 club feels, Chase, but I'll let you know in about 5 days because it's gonna hit me. It's gonna hit
It
me hard.
will. Not too much information, but you will go to the bathroom about two or three more times a day. Just saying. I'm 31. I can feel it. Your back will be sweaty. Yeah. We don't, that's not the podcast is about. But yeah, you
Gotta
will.
get some things checked down there, my friend. Anyways, so leading the conversation, and to disclose to the audience the films that we did see here so we can review because there was like two or three that we did not get to on the list. So the films that we are going to talk about today are One Battle After Another. We're going to talk about Sinners. We're going to talk about F1. We're going to talk about Train Dreams, Frankenstein, and Hamnet. I don't think I missed any per se. I
You
think
did
I
not.
named them all. So, guys, where do we want to start? Let's start with One Battle After Another because Leonardo DiCaprio, it seems like every every award cycle, Chase, Leonardo's names kind of get thrown out there. So we do hear a lot about DiCaprio. I don't know how many awards he's technically won. I knew that his first win not too long ago actually felt like he should have got one prior, and it maybe wasn't his best ever performance, but he actually he did end up winning one. I just don't know if he has two to his resume. I don't know that this film is going to collect that many awards here during this Oscar performance. But Chase, it's one of those weird things where like we see a lot of the movies that we're about to talk about, and it seems like this was more of the Hollywood um, being Hollywood per se in the modern day and age by selecting this film in the first place. Did not have great reviews from most people. Did not get a great review by myself. You could tell basically how it opens without getting political. You can tell how it opens and how it's going to be. And the one thing I'm going to say is I know a lot of people, specifically myself, even talked about unlikable characters in this one. But I do have to say, as an actor, if you're going for to be the most unlikable character, they did a great job. So maybe that's what they were going for. Maybe that's what the acting was, because it takes a great actor to make you hate them. So in this case, not a lot going on for me with this one. It evolves around a lot of revolutionaries, as I title them. And honestly, Chase, I'm surprised it grossed 209 million on a $130 million budget. You don't
Yeah.
really typically see sometimes these Oscar films are not the highest grossing film of all time per se. This isn't like an Oppenheimer most of the time, where Oppenheimer skyrocketed through, made its money back plus more. Sometimes these Oscar films, because they're films that kind of get tossed to the side by the average audience, if you're not like a moviegoer and a critic, or just don't have an interest in seeing most of these films.
Yeah.
So I was very surprised to see that it grossed that much. Chase, your opinion on One Battle After Another.
So I saw it in theaters with a friend. And I watched the trailer and I didn't really know much about it. I think we're going to agree on some things, and I think I might look at it a little different in a sense because I think not most people, but I think a good amount of people went to this movie for Paul Anderson Thomas, or excuse me, Paul Thomas Anderson. I got it mixed up. I think he's a great director. If you don't know his films, he's directed There Will Be Blood, he's directed Licorice Pizza, he directed Boogie Nights, um, a smattering of films. He's one of those directors that has his kind of style, and he's one of those directors that just kind of films what he wants. There's like a lot of movie directors out there that just kind of film what comes to them, and he kind of creates his own thing. And I always respect those kind of filmmakers. You have like the Scorsese, you have like the Spielbergs, you have the Tarantinos, the Nolans, you have all these different types of directors, and he's just one of them. And you either like him or you don't. And I like There Will Be Blood isn't a really good movie. If you've ever have a chance to watch that, it's a really good movie, really well done. Daniel Day-Lewis won an Oscar for that role. So I think Paul Thomas Anderson deserves to be in the talks for an Academy Award. But I didn't really care for the film in the sense that the characters, I think there was like one character I kind of enjoyed, but for me, I just didn't care enough. And I think it got better as it went on, but the start of it was rough. And once we kind of got past that and we focused more on like the car chase scenes, I think the car chase scene is probably one of the best filmed scenes of last year. Did a really good job. So I was watching a video on the cinematographer and how they were filming it. And when they first started doing it, it was too smooth. So he took a screw off of like the tripod or something or the gimbal, and it made it a little shaky. And that made it look more like that made it make more original and more realistic when it came to driving. And I thought that scene was really well done. In fact, seeing it in theaters with the music and the car driving and the sound effects, I thought that was really well done. So, as much as I probably won't ever watch that movie again because it's one of those you either like it or don't like it, I do have to give props to the director. I thought he did a really good job with it. And, you know, I thought Leo did a good job as the role, but he's done better before. It's kind of like when he did Killers of the Flower Moon last year. It was a good film. I like Scorsese, but it just wasn't as good as what they've done in the past. And I think it's the same for Paul Thomas Anderson. Probably will get hated on for making that comment, but he did a really good job writing and directing that film. And there are definitely moments in the film I really appreciate, like Leo falling off the building, having to jump out of the car. Like you have those moments that look so real, and it's cool to see those moments. So if you do watch it, you might like it, but I believe that there are some good moments in the film. So I don't want to completely hate on it. But that's kind of my review on it. Probably wouldn't watch it again. Um, I kind of give it a 6.5 for me because there were moments I enjoyed, so I can't completely hate on it, but I didn't care enough to make an effort to go see it again or buy it. I wouldn't buy it. Um, but There Will Be Blood. You should watch that movie. Very great movie, same director. But that's my review on one battle after another.
I mean, I think this movie checks a lot of boxes in which they won at the Oscars, and I think that, visually speaking, those car chase sequences are good and well shot. And you can always say like there wasn't. I guess my problem with the movie is not the political side of things. It's more so like you can tell a good political story, whatever side you're on. I just think there was like you threw a lot at the wall, and
Yeah.
by throwing a lot at the wall in this film, it didn't mesh too well with the writing. And I actually looked it up because I was like, okay, Paul Thomas Anderson, director. I've heard his name before. I haven't necessarily watched the things he's in, but I was like, okay, maybe it's not his fault because maybe he didn't write it. Well, he is a writer on this film too, so it's a problem. But I was like, I mean, credit where credit's due. I mean, it looks visually pleasing, and that's
Yeah.
sometimes when you're in a nomination.
And Sean Penn did a really good job in this movie.
Oh, for sure.
Like as Sergeant Lockjaw, I think that was his name. He did a really good job at that role. But Sean Penn always does a good job becoming the character on screen, so it's really cool to see that. And I thought he did a really good job.
Sean Penn, I have no worries about Sean Penn changing his appearance and like switching it up for different roles. He's, as far as an actor, we sometimes talk about on the channel how some actors don't change. At least Leonardo DiCaprio and Sean Penn are the people that do kind of change to kind
Yeah,
of mold themselves into a character. So that's really, really cool. Now, let's go to a kind of a different film here, Chase. Let's go to Frankenstein. Because
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein, so my biggest pet peeve with this, and this is the only thing we talked about over the phone last night when you had called, and it was kind of like an anticipation for this podcast. The one thing I don't like about the movie Les Mis, which I'm getting to where I need to go here, is the opening boat scene where it looks really, really weird when they pan in, like do the wide, then they pan down to Jean Valjean pulling the boat with the other slaves and the other prisoners. So my thing is when Frankenstein opened up, I was like, okay, I wish that we would bring back the Pirates of the Caribbean-esque scenes with these big, massive, especially ships from back in the day, because it just, when they panned out, it just looked so real. It was fake.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those situations where, yes, it looks so visually pleasing in the background, but it looks so fake because it looks so real. Like they almost look more real than the actors themselves. And that was my biggest pet peeve kind of throughout the film. But Del Toro does what Del Toro does. And I think that he creates these masterpieces that are kind of, I would say he's one of the most underrated directors. We always see his name, but it's not always as far as like wins. Doesn't always
Yeah.
equal wins. We see his name. It's almost like a yearly basis. He's kind of there, but he just never gets over that hump per se.
He has a very Tim Burton style. Like they both have their, I always called it a weird style, but that's not the right term. It's a very like grotesque gothic type style, which, Frankenstein is a gothic novel based written by Mary Shelley, so it would make sense that Del Toro would be the one to do Frankenstein. And I grew up on Frankenstein, like the book. I've read it 8 times. Love the book. My wife loves the book. And we both watched it together. We were like, we want to watch this movie and see. And we were just kind of picking it apart based on how original it was to the novel. And when you like the novel more, like when you like the novel so much, when you watch a movie, it's easy to hate on the movie because most of the time they change stuff. They change major plot points, but they also change the minor things And when they change the minor things in these movies, it doesn't work. And it doesn't work out well. And it's like, why did you do that? Um, but unlike The Godfather, which is literally page by page perfect, um, but Frankenstein, there's a lot of things in the movie that are different from the book. So if you read a review that says, "Hey, it's just like the book," they have not read the book. But it is closer to the book than previous Frankenstein movies that I've seen, like the Boris Karloff one or just I Frankenstein. Like it's more close to the book, and I do appreciate that point. I also really liked the monster scenes, the creature scenes. Um, that was really good. But I don't know how you want me to explain what's a little bit different from the book and movie. I'll give you some ideas. First off, the monster and Elizabeth never had any relationship whatsoever. They never met, they never talked. The only time they talked in the book is he killed her. And he killed her because the creature wanted Frank Victor to make him a bride, which that's in the movie, that conversation. So in the book, Victor makes a bride and realizes that he shouldn't have done that and destroys it right in front of him. And so the creature goes and destroys his bride, if that makes sense. But in the movie, that conversation happens, but Elizabeth and the creature they have like this kind of connection where she's like, "Ooh, a flower for me? Thank you." Um, which is a sound on TikTok apparently. Uh, And then William is the one that's engaged to her in the movie. In the book, William is 6 years old or seven, he's a kid. And he accidentally gets killed by the creature, from what I remember. And Victor blamed the maid instead of the creature, and then the maid got hung. Um, Similarities. When in the movie, we talked about this, how the father and Victor as a kid, that was a tough relationship. Like he was very abusive to him and very like, you're going to be in this profession. You're not going to do anything else. You're not going to follow your crazy dreams. That's all in the novel. And I really like that they included that because that was kind of a big thing in the novel, as well as the ship in the beginning where the creature and Victor are, after each other, and Victor gets sick on the boat, and then they tell their story. That's pretty much what the book is like, this is what happened, and it's Victor's side. And then the creature comes in and says, I'm going to tell you my side. And then you learn that side. So I think the overall arc of this movie follows the book quite well. But you have these little things that it's like, why did you do that? Like, you remember the doctor, Christoph Waltz plays him, that helps him get the all the material and everything. He does not exist in the book. He is not a thing in the book at all. Victor in the book got his material from school. He got his bodies from a graveyard. He got kicked out of school, from what I remember, because he was continuing to try to bring the dead body to life. But in the movie, he got help the entire way. And I hated that they did that because the whole point was that Victor was doing this kind of behind the curtain. Um, and so if you notice that, like, you didn't need to change those things. And like in the movie, Victor accidentally shoots Elizabeth. That just made Victor look really bad. He's trying to he's trying to get with his brother's fiance, and they have a thing. But in the book, they are actually together. So why in the movie did they change that? What they if they would have kept with that storyline, it would have worked way better in my opinion, because that's how it was in the novel. I can talk the entire time about this, but pretty much if you're going to make a movie based off a novel, try to stick with the source material, because if it worked back then and has worked for all these years, it will work now. Just saying.
I think kind of I get that the book is the original, but I think when it comes to the henchman, I think it's iconic. It's kind of like the Redfield per se, or Renfield for Dracula. I don't know too much about the Dracula books. Maybe Renfield is always there, Chase, because I'm sure that you probably read the Dracula books. But in my case, I look at it like it might be iconic. So maybe they were kind of like back and forth, should we, shouldn't we? And then they're just like, well, it's iconic as far as movie culture. So that's maybe what they
Yeah,
chose to do. I don't know. I wasn't in the room to see that. I do want to say Oscar Isaac played a great role. I
he
think
did.
Oscar Isaac can sell a lot of things. I think he might have been the best thing in the Disney Star Wars trilogy, to be honest with you. So
Oh, BB-8. Like, come on,
well, yeah,
BB-8.
I mean, but like a real person, no,
Oh, okay.
but
No,
you're
but
absolutely
I did enjoy watching Frankenstein because I love the story, but I just like the book way too much to let some of that slide. And that's just a personal thing for me. I can see why someone would like the movie. If you've never read the book, like I don't think you've read the book, that stuff doesn't bother you because you didn't know that. But I think the thing that bothers me the most is that they just created this whole character and then killed him because he had syphilis. And it's like they make these changes and then end it very quickly, as if they were writing it and they were like, "Well, that didn't work out. Let's just kill them." And that's just like you didn't have to do that,
it didn't work
but
out. Maybe they actually like wrote that scene. Maybe that was a reshoot. Who knows? Maybe they're just like, ah, it's not working.
I did enjoy it overall. So I would give it a 7 because I did enjoy watching it. It was very pretty. I love the ship scene um with the ice and all that. I thought that was really cool and those shots were like when the creatures in the far distance and on the ice. That's such a cool shot. Like I did enjoy the shots and all that in this film. Um but I just can't get past that and it's very hard for me to get past not being like the novel.
Well, you know what? This is not the only film on here, Chase, that actually has to do with novels, because I think even the one we just glossed over here, as far as One Battle After Another, I do believe that was still based on somewhat of a novel. So of course we could talk about original scripts, like maybe like a Sinner's Next, but I want to kind of stick to novel adaptations. In fact, this was one of the most prominent writers. Let's go with Hamnet next. And I know that you're excited, Chase, to talk about this movie because I believe it was your best film of the year potentially if you had saw it. I got to go back and rewatch the podcast apparently, to be honest with you. So don't do that, please.
Yeah.
But Hamnet is a very, and I understand why you like this film, Chase, because honestly, there's a lot of times where there's a lot of shots where they keep the camera back farther and they let the actors do their thing in long takes. And if
Yeah.
you've ever noticed a Chase Morgan Hewlett film, he loves doing that style, which
Yeah,
is
there you go.
it works out really well. I got to say these. I know that we'll talk about this as far as when it comes to awards, but the cinematography very well done. I think the directing very well done. I'm gonna say, and maybe I'm wrong here, Chase, but I viewed this more as a spiritual journey. It started off slow. It set a lot of a different kind of tones. You thought it was going to go one direction, and then there's kind of like a tragedy in Shakespeare. Something happens in the life. They kind of split off in different ways, but not like fully, but they split. He goes off to London, does his stuff, and then he ends up coming back a little bit. And you can see how kind of a tragedy can kind of be taken in different ways. You can either run from something or you can make something beautiful out of it. And you have Hamnet, which is Hamlet, and that's the play that he makes. And Chase, your opinion on it. I know that we talked a little bit on the podcast about this film, but the floor is yours, Chase, for Hamnet.
I'm so excited to talk about this movie. It's probably one of my favorite movies I've watched in years. Like I've not had a movie that just hit at home. I just was I left the theater just like shocked. It was very beautiful as you noticed, but it just took you on a journey. Like everything was so well done and as sad as it was beautifully sad. Like I knew that Hamnet died because that's always been like Hamnet, the real life William Shakespeare's son died of the plague, so that's real. The rest of it is based off the novel with the same name. Margaret, I forgot her name now. I should know it, but um, it's based off a novel, and apparently, from what I've read, it's pretty close to the novel. It's just there's more Agnes than William Shakespeare. But you kind of have to add both. But I thought their chemistry in the film was really well done. Everything about this film I thought was just perfect. They did an incredible job with the shots, and I know it's longer takes, but it lets you breathe. It lets the film do its thing. Like one of my favorite shots is over the desk where he like slams the desk and he's drunk And the camera just rolls and you see her go in the background, and usually you would cut to her in the background with the child, but you just stay right there. So you just get sucked into this moment. And it's really well done. It's only lit by candle, so it's really dark. You see their faces, it glows. Um, but the thing that got me in that movie was the ending. When you actually watch Hamlet and you're hearing it, and the guy who's playing Hamlet on stage looks a lot like Hamlet, which are actually brothers in real life, which is funny enough. Um, but there's always this theme where Agnes holds someone's hand and kind of tells them what she sees. And I agree with you with the spiritual journey. I think that was really well done. I don't think it was forced. I don't think it was like anti-Christian or anything like that. It was just really pleasant to like hear and listen to. Like when she blew, like when they all blew a wish and then they saw an eagle up in the air, like that's really cool. It's kind of cool thing to do with kids. But when she grabbed the actor's hand on stage, that shot was so well done. And my heart sank when I saw that because it shows so much, and the theme and everything that you've watched sums down to that single shot of her doing that. And it's like it for me it clicked when she did that. I was like, "Oh, okay." And you see how both these characters, William and Agnes, how they are healing. And she realizes that this play is how William is healing from the death of his son. And she's healing in a different way. But they're both healing. And I think they grew closer together because of that moment. And I thought that that whole arc was so well done. And it was, to me, it's not a depressing film. It's just a beautifully sad film. It's about loss, but it's about love. It's very much what a Shakespeare play does. When you watch a play or hear a monologue, one of the things I was taught in college, because I studied Shakespeare, is you don't understand Shakespeare, you feel it. And for a writer like Shakespeare to write and make you feel things, even if you don't understand what it's saying fully, that's a big thing. There's not a lot of writers that do that. And so that's what this film does. It makes you feel, and I think it's really well deserved to win whatever it wins. And um, Jessie Buckley has won every award for her role. And the Academy Award, I guarantee she'll win it. But I loved Hammett, 10 out of 10. I went to buy it today, but they don't have it at Walmart right now. But I love that movie. Such an amazing movie.
No, and I truly understand why you love it. Honestly, it's one of the, if you didn't tell me about it and we didn't have this podcast, I wouldn't have seen it, to be honest with you. Which, like I said, audience, you don't got to take our words for it, but I would, it's worth the worst case scenario. It's going to be on streaming here at some point. Check it out. It's not going to do it justice as the theater, because I do have to say, with specifically the next film we'll talk about too, is when you watch this stuff, like when you watch films in theaters, it's not always for like the action sounds. This was a beautiful masterpiece visually, as well as the undertone in the score matched the visuals, to create the environmental sounds. And that was really, really cool. And the one thing is, cinematography speaking, because it's going to lead right into the next film that we're going to talk about, Chase. A lot of I would say 3 out of these films that we're going to talk about, shadows and the use of shadows, and not always being the most perfectly lit on an actor. Sometimes the film
Mhm.
looks too clean, and they're just all lit up. Everything, they have makeup on galore and they look visually pleasing. When I like a director that's not afraid to be like, hey, let's film in the shadows. And I was
Yep.
watching a little bit behind of how it was filmed. They used as much natural light as they could in this film and didn't want to really add more, and played with the hues and added a little bit of gray and the undertone. It was phenomenally done. Chloe Zhao, she's done a lot of things. I believe she already has an Oscar for directing one of the films previously, like maybe 3-4 years ago. I think she directed the Eternals too, but we're not going to hold that against her because that's just, Marvel products.
She did that. Yeah, she did.
But I was
She
like,
she got she won for No Man Land, which I haven't seen personally, but she did win for that film.
but you can also see why she wins. Like the 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 directing is spot on, and how she would convey to the actors how to feel and get them in the right mindset is truly incredible, and it shows in this film. Now, in the next film we're going to talk about, Chase, it also has the shadows. It also has longer shots as well. Train Dreams, okay, is a visually pleasing film. I was like, oh dang, we just got off. This is a side note for the channel. We just got off a Stand at Alder Creek film that's going through the film cycle, and I was like, dang, if we would have filmed this in the Montana wilderness, folks, I was like, it would have been great. And I think actually, the setting is Spokane, right? Washington. I think for some of the
Spokane,
setting of it,
yeah,
Spokane. I
yeah.
can't pronounce it. I'm from the Northeast. Forgive me, folks. But it's from that side of the country. And one of the things too, which is really cool about this one, I don't know if it's more of a theme that I think doesn't get talked a whole lot about, but it's also introducing somebody that's kind of been sucked out of reality into like this new era because technology just changes so quick, and we feel it nowadays too.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago, Chase, which it seems like it was, but it wasn't that long ago that we had the nostalgia talk where we went from flipping up CD or DVD little TVs, basically monitors on road trips growing up, to like being like, oh, we got an iPhone or a projector, that kind of cool stuff. But
Yeah.
in this case, a railroad worker working on different places in the country on like in the wilderness and everything else like that, and you have the struggles of the outdoorsman along with the trying to understand people sometimes, and like
Yeah.
that conflict. And this film, honestly, again, if we weren't watching movies, I would have missed this one. And this one to me is a film in which I'm like, I can get behind, because
Hmm.
I think, again, the visuals, I think the story itself, and this wasn't a spiritual journey, but it was a journey to the other side of life. And very much so, I don't know if anybody's religious out there, but the story of Job in the Bible, when things go astray, and you can imagine
Yeah.
like what maybe that was like, and trying to adapt and trying to evolve and seeing things that typically happen, and have the heartbreak and have the bad timing and have the decisions that go astray. Chase, this film was pretty incredible.
I like Train Dreams. It's a slower film, so if you do watch it, don't expect a action-packed Michael Bay car slipping movie. It's a slower film, but you watch a film, someone that is dealing with loss, that's being alone. And when I watched this film first, I tried to watch it one time, because I had to stay up all night from my work, and I fell asleep because I was tired, not because of the movie. So I tried to watch it again for this podcast, and I watched it. I enjoyed it. I don't look at just the story. I look at how it's shot, how it looks. And this film is like, just like Hamnet, completely peaceful. It's so nice to just sit and watch a good film. Like the tree falling and the camera hooked on it. They filmed that with a red Komodo dragon. I think it's a dragon. Red Komodo is what it's called. Which I've used that camera on a film before. And I was like, that's really cool. I've used the camera that they used. But uh, but I read a review of this film. And it was an older guy saying, I lost my wife years ago, and I've been alone in life, and everything's moving too fast. Technology's getting out of control, and he feels lost in the world. I was just reading this review from this guy who watched this movie, and he's like, finally, I find a movie that I can fully connect with. And I thought about it, and I was like, I don't fully connect with this film as much as maybe he does, but it's really cool that there's a film out there for everyone, and he found this one to be the one that he connects with. I thought that was beautiful, and that review just made me love the movie even more. But I agree with everything you're saying. Very, very well done. You watch this man. Job is a great reference. I never thought of that, honestly. But the cinematography and all these shots and the set design, like they had that small train, like you put those type of elements in your films. This is why I like making period pieces, because when you put that, it just makes it more real. You do a modern film and we're surrounded by modern things, so we don't think of it, but when you make it a period piece and you add those things and they're legit and that's what they did back then, it makes it so much real and it really pops out. It's like when we used that Model A for Reluctant Blues, like that really popped out because we had an old car. And I think my favorite scene in this movie is when he's trying to start the chainsaw and he just couldn't. And so this younger guy grabs it, starts it right away, and walks off. and then he just kind of grabs an axe and just kind of does what he usually does. That is really cool to see that scene and how the world's moving too fast, and we're all going to get to that age where it's like you can't keep up anymore. There's a very deep meaning in this film, and I think it's really beautiful. So definitely a 10 out of 10. I thought it was a really well made film.
And we're going to transition to the next film as well, because I think the three that we had in order right now between Hamnet, Train Dreams, and Sinners, which is what we're going to talk about next, I really feel like this Oscar cycle is really those three films as far as how it's shot, how it looks, and they're all period pieces too, which is amazing because like this is if you're going to highlight 2025 as a year of something, period pieces.
Yeah.
Like it is astonishing that all these are going to end up there. And it kind of depends which time period maybe you like, maybe because they're all from different kind of time periods. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there is some crossover between Train Dreams and where Sinners would be. I would there would probably be somewhat of crossover. Hamnet obviously back
Yeah.
beyond. But when we get to Sinners, Sinners to me was my best film of the year that I saw. Obviously, that was the before we watched this, which is still last year's films. Anyways, it's you
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
like these cycles and whatever. It's like trying to do like cut to that meme of like somebody there with like the math growing in the background. Like, what? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
off topic. But Sinners was my favorite film of 2025. I really don't think that still changed much. One of the things is Michael B. Jordan is up for an award with this one as for best actor. I give somebody a whole lot of credit. It's like the Parent Trap effect. I think what when you're able to play two different people on screen and also interact with yourself and just the minds of the director and able to capture that and keep everything on a tripod, figure out framing, and how it's going to be, especially when you're in the same shots. I think that's a really, really cool thing. I think I know a lot of people didn't like the vampire thing, but I will say this: I viewed it more as demons more than vampire, and when you put that spin on it, I think it adds something a little bit extra rather than the typical
Yeah.
vampire lore trail, whatever. But I love the music, I love the score, I like how it's shot. Honestly, I do like that time period that they were able to capture. I like the brown hue because if you look at all the different ones between Hamnet, I would say that Hamnet was more grayscale. I think it had a little bit more gray. I would say Train Dreams was a little bit more of a green hue. And this one was definitely a brown hue, kind of like down the dirty south. You had like the dust, and it kind of felt like the particles were always in the camera. And that's a really
Yeah.
cool thing too when you're able to do that. So enough of my ranting, but Sinners, we covered it on the channel, so I'm assuming Chase is going to be a little bit of a brief one here.
Yeah, I can make it long, but pretty much I liked Sinners. I thought it was pretty original, really cool to see. If you look at it in a more Christian aspect, it does have a pretty deep message about what you let in your heart. Which one thing I really liked is they weren't allowed in until they were invited. And the minute they were invited, they came right in. I think that's the same thing with today. So I thought that was really well done. I liked the performances and everything. And I might get crucified for this comment. I guess it's my turn. Is I don't think it deserves 16 nominations, in my opinion. I think some of the things it's been nominated for, they just added it. Um, I don't know why, but I did enjoy the film. I think it did deserve some of the nominations, and I think it's going to win some. In fact, I think it's going to win more than Train Dreams or Hamnet, even, unfortunately. Um, but I think it was a well put together film. I did enjoy it. It was different. That's the nice thing is that it was a different look. It was a different take. It was just a different type of film, and we're so used to seeing reruns or remakes or sequels or prequels, whatever. It's always tied to something. But this one was just kind of out on its own. And it was really nice to see a film in theaters this successful be something original. So I did appreciate that. And Michael B. Jordan, I agree with you. I think he did it really well playing two characters. But no, I thought it was a great film. I'm excited to see what it wins. I have my opinions, which we'll get to that later. But yeah, I did enjoy Sinners.
I was gonna say I don't know if coming up, because we had talked about certain awards that we were gonna announce or weren't gonna announce, or if we need to add any. I don't think we are an added best original screenplay, but I think it would have that one hands down.
Yeah,
Like I I
absolutely.
I, I think that it's going to win that award. Because the ones that we have talked about have been adaptations. But we also have an original screenplay, even though it's based off of sport, which is our last movie on this list. F1 racing. So you have Brad Pitt doing what Brad Pitt does all the time, doing some sort of action to combat Tom Cruise, because whether they're buddies or they hate each other, I have no idea. But
Yeah.
same director as Top Gun Maverick. And you could kind of tell with how the shots were visually pleasing, the sound, the score, their use of drone, their use of inside it's not a cockpit, I guess, of a car, but inside, by the steering well, being
Yeah.
able to capture some of these cool shots. And if you're going to talk about a film that's completely different on this list of nominations, F1's kind of the film that's like the outlier here as far as all of these for this award cycle.
Yeah, I think F1 was my best film of our pod when we did that last year. It was my favorite. It was the most pleasing to watch in theaters. It was really well done. You kind of had to watch it in theaters because of the sound and everything. I wish I could have watched it in IMAX. I think that would have been incredible. But yeah, I really did enjoy it. I'm surprised it's on the Best Picture nomination, if I'm being honest. But we'll see. It was a good film. It's not my favorite Brad Pitt film because Brad Pitt was kind of in this film. He was kind of a rude person. I'll say it. That's the nicest way I can say it for the podcast. And he's a character that I kind of wanted to see him fail a little bit because he was very arrogant at times. I know the younger boy was arrogant, but that was for because he was young. And I don't want to go down that road, but um Uh, but I did like F1. I thought it was really good. I've seen it twice. I would watch it again. I would own it. I think I gave it like an 8 or 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. Really fun to watch. And I remember I took my mom, and my mom is not into like racing movies. And she likes like action, and if she goes to the theater, she wants to see something that blows her mind. And I was like, let's go see this. And she didn't really want to, but my mom doesn't say no when it comes to movies. She's like, I'll go, and she really loved it. She's like, that was amazing. It was really big. And I think it's the sound effects and the filming and how it's filmed, like you said, those angles and the drone and whatnot. And that shot with the fireworks, like that's just awesome. Great way to open up the movie. Uh, and you actually do care about these characters. You see their rise, you see their fall, you see these characters go through something, and I think that's a beautiful thing. So I did like F1. I thought it was great. It was my best film last year.
I do have to say my favorite film that Brad Pitt has done. I still love Bullet Train. Bullet Train's a film that I could rewatch over and over. Like that to me is still one of the greatest that he's ever done. It's not going to win awards, but it's still some of the greatest stuff.
Minus Snatch. If you've ever seen Snatch, he
Snatch is good, but I don't know. I'm
it's such
personally
a funny movie.
all right. So we move on to the awards section of the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't even know what order we want to go in, but we will save the bigger ones for last so we can kind of talk about, we kind of have the idea. So
Yep.
let's start with best score, Chase, because best score to me, I could argue for Hamnet, but I am going to be a little bit biased. I do think that Sinners has this in the bag for score. Could be wrong, but
So
that's my pick.
when I picked, some of them I have what I think will win, and some I have what I want to win. So obviously, and I'll just say this out bat, I want Hamnet to win everything because I think that was the best film that we've been talking about because it was so gorgeous to me, and it deserves it. Now, I think that Sinners is going to win because it's already won. Now, before the Academy Awards, everyone, there are certain like Golden Globes and Critic Choice and the SAG Awards and the Actor Award. There's certain awards that they kind of keep track. Like, all right, these people have won these, and they kind of have the prediction of what's going to win. And Sinners has already won, I think, a couple of those. I'm not sure which ones to be exact. I think a Golden Globe, but I think Sinners is going to have it. I agree with you on that.
We're gonna get some fun ones out of the way here. Soundtrack slash song got to go to K-pop Demon Hunters, right? Golden. I would imagine. being as viral as that's been.
Yeah, I don't think the other songs, some of them I don't know, but I'm gonna pick Golden because I love K-pop Demon Hunters. Absolutely love that movie. If you haven't seen it, you should just go watch it. Has another good message. And what I like is it's not a I don't think it's a Disney film. It's its own thing. And anime from Japan is making a big hit in America now, where it used to just be a weird thing that only people who lived in the basement watched. And now it's like it's everywhere, and they have a great culture over there. They create very original ideas, which I really appreciate that with anime is a lot of it's very original. Some of it's pretty bizarre, but a lot of it's original. But um, that's my K-pop Demon Hunters review. Watch it. It's amazing.
Best
But I agree.
effects, I got to go with Avatar. I know that
I,
you could probably say Jurassic World if you're the one to, but no, I mean, I think that has that in the bag.
I'm
Um,
surprised Jurassic World's even listed. Like that's just such a random, like, I don't know, that was just random. I was like, really?
yeah. I mean, but also I understand that for as far as visuals, but this one was not one of the best ones. Like I think we can all agree as far as Jurassic World or Jurassic Park, it was not it this year. I don't know where you want to go with it next. You probably want to go best supporting actor, correct?
Well, before that, animated film, I picked K-pop Demon Hunters
Okay. Yeah,
because
I'm not gonna argue with that one. I think that's
Zootopia 2 is the other one that I've watched that's nominated, and I went and watched it, and it was good, but K-pop had such a hard hit and did so well with views and whatnot that you can't go wrong on that. All right, so you said supporting actor.
supporting actor or supporting actress, whichever one, because as I realized, I did not even do that category. So Chase, those two are your two. Go ahead.
We'll do supporting actor, supporting actress, and then actor, actress. We'll do it that way. Okay, so supporting actor. I think Sean Penn's gonna win. He's already won an award for that role. So, um, I had a hard time picking who I out of this one. It's such a close call, but I think out of everyone that's listed, Sean Penn was the most believable and did his acting very well in that role. He was Sergeant Lockjaw, and there was no telling about it. I was wondering how was it to film with him? Like, did he stay that way even when they said cut? I don't know. Sean Penn seems like someone that would be more of a method actor. So, but I think Sean Penn is gonna take it. Now, supporting actress, I had a really hard time picking supporting actress. And I went a little bit in a different direction. So if you don't know, one battle after another, Tiana Taylor, oh, I'm gonna butcher some of these names. We have one from Sinners, we have one from Weapons, that fun horror movie that Donnie made me watch.
I did
We
like
have,
that one.
and then we have two from Sentimental Value. Um, I went a different route. I have not seen Sentimental Value, but I think Ellie Fanning deserves a win. This is her first nomination. She's never been nominated, and I think it'd be really cool for her to win a nomination. I had a hard time because I don't know who to pick. I know who I don't want to win, which I won't bring that up. But I think Ellie Fanning deserves it. Is this her best role? I haven't seen the movie. I've seen a couple scenes of her, and she did really good. But she deserves a win. So I picked her. I want her to win. The actor category for both actor and actress is pretty tight. Except one category, which I'm thinking you did this one. Best actor, excuse me, best actress in a leading role.
Yep.
Uh, we both know the answer. It's Jessie Buckley.
100%.
Absolutely. She's won every award for this role. The Golden Globe Critic Choice, she's won the Actor Award, she won the SAG. And a little hint, when an actor wins the SAG Award, they're more likely to win the Academy Award,
Yeah.
which is interesting for the next category to talk about. But I think how she performed in the scene where Hamnet died, which I'm curious on your brief opinion on that, that scene floored me. She, like, that was a whole nother level of grieving for her, which it seemed so real. I don't know. I don't know what you thought about the scene, but I thought that scene was absolutely incredible.
Not just talking about one scene, but throughout the whole film chase, you could easily make the argument that she was like the lead in certain times.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
was the lead.
which is
Absolutely.
like really weird to say because obviously we know it's William Shakespeare's kind of movie here, but she could easily have been the lead. And honestly, if if this film was split off into two separate things and we never saw another character again, say like the audience, we had an option to go sit there and watch Will do his little route and be a Will movie, or if we had a chance to sprout off and do her movie, I think we would have been fine with either, to be honest with you. I mean, I think she carried carried it, and I'm cool with that choice, and I think that she's the obvious winner.
Yeah, she's gonna win. I put money on it. She's just gonna win. I know it. She's won everything else, so I think it'd be a rip off if she did win because you might as well give it to her. At that point. But
But
best actor,
there is something, and I know it's a bias, guys, because I've been talking about my film of the year, and and I just can't get over the fact that for not only being great in one role, but having to play two roles, I think it gives Michael B. Jordan a little bit more of an edge. So I do think Michael B. Jordan wins this award.
I think Michael B. Jordan's gonna win
Yeah.
because he just won the SAG award, which is a good indication that he might win this one. Everyone was thinking that it was Timothy Chalamet's year, but I kind of hope Michael B. Jordan beats him. That's kind of sad, but and I didn't watch Marty Supreme, so I mean, I think Timothy does deserve an award at some point. So if he does win it, I don't think it obviously bother me, but I think Michael B. Jordan's going to get this one.
I just don't think it's Chalamet's year. Like I think that he's going to get an award here at some point in time for best actor,
Yeah.
because you look at his progression with films in the past. I
Yep.
think that he's been nothing but going up, and I think the hype train and whoever's his agent getting him these Oscar roles, good for him because I think that he's an actor that deserves these nominations, if not a win one of these days. But I don't believe that it's his time.
I know some people were irritated that the guy who played William Shakespeare, he wasn't nominated.
I
And I
was very
thought,
shocked too because I did not look at that list. I had just assumed. So
yeah,
that's on the
he
audience.
wasn't nominated at all. I don't think he's won anything for that role, but he did so good in that role. He my favorite Shakespeare that I've seen.
I mean,
Um,
I'm switching him out for DiCaprio. Like, if we could kick DiCaprio off the list, I think
yeah,
I'm
I
down
agree.
just.
I agree.
But
Then I would choose him.
we have two categories left, Chase.
Okay.
Best cinematography and best director. Well,
All
we
right.
actually have best picture, I guess, too. But um
Best
cinematography.
cinematography.
Best cinematography. I loved all the shots in Train Dream. I liked the hue choice better. And honestly, it comes down to like the hues, doesn't it? Because like it's really weird. It's the grayscale or like the green. And honestly, how they lit the fire scene and the shadows when everything's on fire and he loses his wife and his daughter. I think that scene alone was very much like a Revenant style scene where like
Yeah,
that could sell it itself.
I agree with you. I think Train Dreams has it. It's already won the Golden Globe for it. Um, and out of those films, I just think Train Dreams is the most like Frankenstein has too much green screen in my opinion. I didn't see Marty Supreme, so I don't really have opinion there. One About After Another, I think was good, but it wasn't breathtaking. I think cinematography needs to be breathtaking. Um, Sinners was good, but there were shots that weren't as good. Like you'd have a shot where it was a little dark, and then you have the same shot but a different angle, and it was really light. And for best cinematography, you can't have those type of shots, in my opinion. And I'm sure someone can argue with me on there's a reason for that, and that's fine. Have fun with that argument. But I think Train Dreams is the most breathtaking shots out of this list. Um, so yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna be Train Dreams for that one. Okay.
Um, I think this is where we start kind of funneling up in which, you had the actress, win for Hamnet, Jessie Buckley.
Yeah.
I think Chloe Zhao takes another one. I don't see in a world in which she's denied this for the directing aspect. I'm not even saying it's best picture because that's going to be the next, the final one that we're talking about. But as far as directing, like that's the one that deserves a directing award.
So this is another want, and I want Zoe to win. Oh, Chloe to win. Excuse me. I want Hamnet to win. But I think Paul Thomas Anderson's going to win this one. He's already won two or three awards for this. I think he's going to win it. I'm not saying that's what I want, but I think that's what's going to happen. Um, I don't think Sinners is going to win. I don't think Ryan Coogler is going to win, but I think we both agree that he probably will win for the screenplay because he's already won for it. But Paul Thomas Anderson has won too many awards for his directing for this film to get ignored. But I hope I'm wrong, and I hope Hamnet wins.
I just don't understand how you would even like. I think it's clearly a Chloe Zhao and then Ryan Coogler. I think that's your 1-2 punch right there. I'd be shocked if but they have given him awards already, Paul Thomas Anderson. So, but I would be very shocked by that. I don't think the Academy would do
Well, the Academy didn't watch Dune Part 2, and they judged it.
that.
I'm
It's
just
true.
saying. Trust me, I want Hamnet to win, but this is what I think is going to happen. And I think Paul Thomas Anderson won for There Will Be Blood. I'm not sure, but if he hasn't won, he does deserve an award at some point. So, but yeah. But Best Picture, this is another I have too. I have a want and I have what I think is going to happen. Um, do you have one answer or do you have two answers? Wait, it's
I
okay.
have, well, if I had to do once, I got two answers. I got my once and I think what's going to happen.
Okay.
Um, I I do think that Hamlet does take a best picture. I think I like Sinners better. Like so like like
Yeah.
that's one of the things. Like I think best picture to me of the year was Sinners. Um but the other thing too is what's going to determine a lot, and I'm not saying this matters because not everything can be like Oppenheimer where you win all the way up the board and you kind of see how the night's going and where the thought process is behind the voters. But if Michael B. Jordan does not win Best Actor, that will immediately almost eliminate Sinners from Best Picture. Which
Good.
I know that
Yeah.
doesn't always happen, but that's typically when they vote in lockstep, that stuff ends up happening.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want Hamnet to win. Of course, I want Hamnet to win. It won Best Picture for the Golden Globes. It won for there was like a British at the BAFTAs. I think it won Best Picture or Best Outstanding British Film or whatever. Which obviously it's a British film. It deserves it. Um, but now I want Hamnet. Unfortunately, I think one battle after another is going to win. I just I know how the Academy works. They're not always in line with what I think the viewers want. Unfortunately, not to name anyone or trash anybody, but they usually they usually go towards more of what aligns politically at times rather than art. And I've been wrong. And they've done art before, but they usually go a different direction when it comes to Best Picture. And I unfortunately think they're going to pick one battle after another. I'm afraid of that because I don't think that film was the best picture.
Well, we will see again if depending on who wins Best Director. I think
Yeah.
that also because all these awards lead up to Best Picture. They kind of increase the scale to make you watch longer, and they don't do all the big awards up front. But it comes down to Best Director. If uh, if they give Paul Thomas Anderson a Best Director, I think we know where the Academy's minds are going.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think they're gonna go towards that. That's my opinion. Um, I made this comment earlier to you, is I think the Academy is gonna go towards more one battle after another in Sinners, but it really should go towards Train Dreams and Hamnet because those were beautiful films. The other films were good. Don't get like they were good or they weren't that great. But I when you look at the nominations over the years and which way the Academy usually leans towards, you usually unfortunately leans towards the way you're like, I don't agree with that at all. And it has been proven that a lot of the Academy has been paid for and bought. And so I'm not saying that any of these films have done that. I'm not accusing anyone, but that has been a thing in the past. And they voted because of that. And that's just kind of cheating and that kind of ruins it. And I think the best picture needs to be a breathtaking picture that just awes its audience, has good ratings, everything about it is good. All the check marks that I talk about are checked. I think Hamnet has it. I think it has what it takes to win that and it deserves it. But I think one battle after another is going to get it because the critics and the Academy is going to like that one more, which is unfortunate. And I really hate
Yeah.
saying that, but yeah.
Yeah, to each its own. I think, if we're looking from, say the Academy was normal people, Chase, in which like they bought into the hype of like, films that are out. I would say the biggest hyped film of 2025 was Sinners, just with the amount of overflow on social media from the audience, because the audience did seem to genuinely love that movie, and it made more money than probably the rest of the people on this list.
Yeah.
Outside of like an Avatar for best effects, obviously or Zootopia per se, but like for this massive lineup of Best Picture, I think that was number one. I've heard a lot more hype for Hamnet, not just from you, but I've heard a lot more hype from Hamnet. I have not heard any hype for Train Dreams. So I think Train Dreams, as far as the hype train, well, I mean that's pun, and that's a pun if itself. Hype train for a whatever. So I think that One Battle After Another probably got more audience hype than Train Dreams.
Yeah.
So like it's weird to judge this stuff because I mean I would say the fan vote probably goes to Sinners for Best Picture. I do hope it's Hamnet or Sinners. Um, I think it would be a disaster to put One Battle After Another, and that's put very lightly. I mean, first of all, the let's just say the YouTube audience here for a minute, Chase. The YouTube audience has not been very friendly to this film, One Battle After Another. The overall audience has not been very friendly to this film. If you want people, and this is something I was hoping that they'd learn from the Oppenheimer effect and the Barbie 2 effect of that year, is if you want people back, and I'm not saying you rig, all this stuff, even though we genuinely believe it's rigged anyway, but like I'm not saying you rig it to appease the audience. But if you want more people watching the award shows, because that we've had a dip in in watchers, and you have the hyped films like a K-pop Demon Hunters this year and some other stuff, maybe just maybe you should actually make the right choice this year. Because
Exactly.
if you're going to have like, people tuned in to watch Oppenheimer get all these awards because it rightfully so, but also people in droves went out to watch it. Just like they were waiting for Ryan Gosling to perform Barbie, for Ken's song.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping the Academy makes the right decision, because if you continue to make right decisions, more people are going to want to watch. If you come out here and do One Battle After Another as Best Director and Best Picture after the audience has already hated it, you are just, the gap between fans and Hollywood will just widen even more. And it's already stretched out pretty far, Chase.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I want Paul Thomas Anderson to win for director. I think he does deserve it, but it's one of those unfortunate things. And, um, yeah, whatever film wins should deserve it. It shouldn't be for any pay or any political message. It should just be a whole heart, the film as a perfect film, the best film. And I feel like they've kind of slacked over that over the years,
Yeah.
really slacked on it. So I really hope Hamnet wins. I mean, if anything, at least Jessie Berkeley will get her win, and she'll have 5 or 6 wins of major awards for this role. And she's a great actress. She's probably one of the best actresses I've seen in a while. Like she's really good at her role. So, um, yeah, that's my pick. So on March 15th, the Oscars will be on, I think, ABC, but I think they're going to be on Peacock. So if you have Peacock, watch it. I think. Don't quote me. Um, watch it. If you don't watch it, IMDb updates the wins. So if you have the app, or if you have a computer, you can look up IMDb and it will update you on what has won. And so the last few times I haven't watched the Academy Awards, I've only watched it through there, but I'm actually going to try to watch it this year because there's certain films in here I really want to win and I really want to support. I would support Hamnet in any way because I just really love that movie. So, but March 15th, and we can come back after the Academy and kind of briefly talk about what won and what we thought, what we disagreed on and what we agreed on, and see if we were right. I think that's kind of the fun in it. So stay tuned, guys. We'll talk about it again.
One of these days, Chase, after one of these major breaking events, we're just going to go live. I think it was just time for live podcast, like live
There you-
feed, live reaction. You know, enough of this pre-recorded stuff. But guys, we do it with the best of intention and the best of love, because otherwise our schedules be a wreck. If we did not pre-record these, it would be a wreck. But Chase, thank you for joining me again on Movie Mayhem. Where can people find you at?
Instagram, Facebook. True Light Pictures is my company, so you can follow them on there. We'll be releasing the trailer for the Santa Alta Creek tomorrow, which will be March 4th. So make sure you go and check that out on the channel. Shield of Hope Productions will be tagged on that as well. So make sure you follow that as well, and stay tuned with that.
And I'm just going to say, because I know with getting this podcast out, it is coming after March 4th. So go back to probably the next collaborative or the past collaborative video and go check out the Stand at Alder Creek trailer. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This is the Shield of Hope channel. I'm Donnie Shields. Have a great night.